Let me share screen. All right.
Hey, babe. Good news. I just signed us up for a new retirement plan.
Oh, it's a lottery ticket.
I know it's only like a 1 in a million chance, but I've got a good feeling about this one.
Try 1 in 292 million. When probabilities get that small, our brains have trouble processing them. But for reference, you're more likely to become an astronaut or be killed in a vending machine accident. And according to some people, even if you win, you might end up wishing a vending machine had taken you out instead.
Let's start with the basics. What is the lottery? Essentially, it's government-run gambling. Kings, emperors, and presidents alike realize that people hate taxes but love to gamble. So lotteries were implemented to keep revenue flowing in without causing the peasants to revolt. For more ancient lottery history, let's check in with Danielle from Origin of Everything.
The earliest known evidence of lottery-style gambling dates back to between 205 and 187 BCE during the Han Dynasty in China. It was actually in the form of a game now called Keno that's still played in some casinos today. And similar to modern times, most of the revenue went into funding government projects because the money for expanding and maintaining that big old wall needed to come from somewhere. Lottery tickets first showed up in the Roman Empire under Julius Caesar's successor, Augustus. He too needed a little extra cash to fix up some infrastructure. But the prices didn't come in the form of money. Instead, winners got materials like household items. And buku payouts similar to what we have today didn't arrive until the 15th century in the Low Countries. Today, we know that region as the Netherlands, which makes sense since the word lottery actually comes from the Dutch word loterij. The word lot actually means fate.
Believe it or not, lotteries played a significant role in the establishment of America. The proceeds from a lottery in 1612 were essential in funding the establishment of Jamestown by the Virginia Company. And these days, almost every state in the US runs a lottery, and hundreds of other countries continue the practice. So what's the harm? Surely something that's so widespread can't be that bad, right?
Let's start with the obvious. For 99.9999999% of people who play, the lottery is a waste of money. And even though most people know that the statistical odds of winning are horrendous, people continue to play in droves. In fact, 60% of adults report playing at least once a year. But unfortunately, the most dedicated players tend to be poor. Households with incomes of less than $12,400 on average spend 5% of their income on lottery tickets. And this is no accident. Studies show that lottery ads are specifically targeted to low-income groups.
Which is kind of perverse when you consider that the lottery is essentially a voluntary tax, which is falling most heavily on the shoulders of the people who can least afford it. And there are ways that the government could regulate the industry to keep it.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. I do recommend you watch that. I think it's about 7 minutes long, everybody. It really clarifies a lot. When I start class with these videos, it kind of puts it in layman's terms and it puts it in a context that I think is easy to understand. So last week when we did proponents, I was worried about that side because I knew it was the weaker side. And it was actually the easier one to prove, believe it or not, because somebody was behind you, Nora. That threw me. I was like, whoa. I forget how online classes throw me a little bit. So we talked about it's not like a tax. Nobody likes paying taxes, by the way. And by the way, FYI, I bought something online last night and I didn't have to pay taxes. And I was like, oh yeah, it's tax-free weekend. Woo! I saved 8%. Woo! So go shopping for your school stuff. You can even do it online. It will waive the 8% tax. And that's in Texas, everybody. Did y'all know that? Nobody knew that. Okay, it's tax-free weekend, the 12th and the 13th, yesterday. So 11th, 12th, and 13th. That should tell you, your mall will be jam-packed because people don't like to pay taxes. And this is where the lottery really came to be. Our state governments were like, okay, we don't want our citizens mad at us. So let's create a way that we can have like a game, right? That everybody will want to play, but it's voluntary. But it's going to serve like a tax. And it does. 45 out of 50 states have a state lottery. I think Canada, every province of Canada has a lottery. They make money. I always like compare the lottery to, okay, I just went blank. My brain just went dead. Okay, we have regular roads and we have toll roads. Okay, we shouldn't have to pay a toll, everybody. Express lanes that cost more, they make a lot of money on toll roads and express lanes. And what you're going to find is they don't even have regular highways anymore. And that's kind of how the lottery is. They don't even have to make people pay taxes. All they have to do is create a lottery system. So yes, it's gambling. Hello. They're games of chance. It is completely voluntary. Nobody has to buy a ticket, but boy, they sure do make it enticing by only charging you $2 to play the big jackpot, which, by the way, was won on Tuesday. The $1.56 billion jackpot, somebody won in Florida. Okay, so what if you win? If you go to the outline, everybody, the opponents of playing outline, there are 2 articles. So everybody take a minute and go click on the outline for opponents, and you will find the article I'm about to go over with you. Dreaming of winning the lottery. These horror stories may change your mind. It looks like this. And you will see 5 names. Money doesn't always buy happiness. In fact, some lottery winners have experienced bankruptcy, divorce, prison time, and have been murdered. Okay, experts say if you win, so the winner on Tuesday in Florida should remain anonymous. Should they tell their family? That's the worst thing to do. But wouldn't most people be excited and brag about it? Don't do that, they say. Go find a tax accountant, go find a financial advisor, go find a lawyer to represent you. Put that lottery ticket in a safe deposit box. If you're in Texas, you can go ahead and claim it, because in Texas, you can remain anonymous. In other states, you cannot. Once you claim your ticket, your name is published. So in Texas, you can. But it even just says wait, because here's the thing. Most people, when they win a huge sum of money, spend it unwisely. Now, I want you to think about why that kind of makes sense. I work really hard to teach, to create interesting lessons, and I charge a fee. And the money I make, I feel affirmation. I feel like, oh, well, because I work, I'll go buy, say I go buy a car. I paid for my own car with my hard-earned work. And there's value in that. Like, I earned it. I remember the first car I ever bought by myself. I was 20. I just graduated from college, and I bought a Honda Accord. And I paid it off, every month. After 4 years, I did a 4-year loan. I paid off that car, and I felt such pride, ladies and gentlemen, because I knew that was my car and my job and my hard work paid for it. But I think you have a different way of spending money when it's given to you as a gift, don't you? Do you think you value the money if it's just won or given to you? That's why a lot of people, most lottery winners, most, not all, spend it within 5 years. So I'm going to tell you 5 horror stories. These are like the worst. William Bud Post, he won the Pennsylvania $16.2 million jackpot. This was the start of unfortunate events. His girlfriend sued him for a share of the winnings and won. His brother hired a hitman to get his inheritance. Nice brother. And other relatives spent months demanding money. Within a year, that's a typo, a year of winning, he filed for bankruptcy and was $1 million in debt. How did he spend $17 million in 1 year? Right? And those of you that were with me last week, we talked about one of the coolest things about playing the lottery is just imagining and dreaming it. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to buy a car for everybody. I'm going to buy a new house. I'm going to buy a yacht. I'm going to buy my own jet, my own plane. Sounds like that's what he did, right? He just threw it away. Janet Lee, an immigrant from South Korea, worked in a wig shop before she won $18 million in 1993. You have two options when you win the lottery. You can take an annual payout over 20 years. So she decided to take $620,000 over 20 years. Now, raise your hand if you plan to make that per year in your lifetime. I hope you do, but most people don't. I'm guarantee you your parents probably don't. $620,000 a year is an incredible salary. That's incredible. Over 20 years. Now, most people don't do that, by the way, because, you know, tomorrow's not promised. You could die in a car accident. So most people take the lump sum. The lump sum is only 67% of what the total is. And that's before being taxed. So she sold her rights for annual checks and then got the lump sum amount. 10 years later, she filed for bankruptcy and was $2.5 million in debt. What are they doing, right? Obviously not spending their money wisely. Abraham Shakespeare won 30 million, see the numbers going up, in a Florida lottery, and 3 years later he was murdered. He was shot twice in the chest by D.D. Moore, who befriended him after he won the lottery. So let me ask you this. Would you question your friends and if they liked you or the fact that you won the lottery and have a lot of money? I think you'd have to be really careful who your friends are. Denise Rossi in 1997 won 1.3 million in the California lottery and immediately filed for divorce. 2 years later, Rossi's husband discovered she won the lottery, took her to court, and he sued her for not disclosing her winnings in the divorce, and the judge awarded him every cent. Ouch. Jack Whitaker, by the way, I think there's a Netflix show, or maybe it's on Hulu. It's a documentary about lottery winners. He won 315 million. Now that's an astronomical amount. He was already a millionaire. He had a construction company. And this doesn't really, it really kind of sugarcoats it. Ladies and gentlemen, he has a horrible story. His wife took half, left him. His daughter and his granddaughter got into the party scene, got into drugs, and both of them died of drug overdoses. And he says it's the worst thing that ever happened to him. It just changed their lives for the worst. So I guess the point I'm making here is not so simple, even when you do win the lottery, because most lottery winners are ill-equipped to handle the huge influx of cash. This means they spend their wealth unwisely. And this is shown with most lottery, not all, most. Experts offer advice. Number one, keep silent. Don't tell anyone, and especially not your family. They will come out of the woodwork. Your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, they will want money because you didn't earn it. It came for free. So they want you to share the wealth. Hire a tax expert, lawyer, financial advisor, because here's the other thing. You have to pay taxes on that earning. Because most lottery winners prefer lump sum. That lump sum is reduced. Okay, so let's say you win $1 million. Okay, and you take the lump sum. You get 63% of that. Do the math. You get $630,000. Then you have to pay taxes on that, which means you only end up with 37%. So even though you won $1 million, guess what? You only take home $370,000. After the lump sum, after the taxes. So I think most people are spending $1 million, not the 370 they actually got. So really interesting here. The other thing is, and I'm going to go to your outline here just to expedite things. Body paragraph 2, I've already done 3 and 4. Even though those who support playing the lottery claim it is entertaining and fun, and it is. Many studies show playing the lottery did not bring happiness. So number one, Eric Linkvist published a 2020 study in the Review of Economic Studies after researching the long-term effect of people who won the lottery, and found many winners dealt with the long-term psychological issues because of it. And most lottery winners, ladies and gentlemen, will tell you they were happier before they won, which doesn't make sense, right? You and I are thinking, well, wouldn't making all that money solve all their problems. According to him, winning large sums of money strongly affects how content you are with your personal finances. Okay, obviously, we're all going to feel content if we don't have to worry about any future expenses. He says, but it does affect how you feel about other aspects, such as your health, your relationships with friends and family. And your relationships with friends and family, ladies and gentlemen, is going to take a hit when people like to be around you because of your wealth and not because they actually like you. And one of the biggest complaints from lottery winners is family descends on the winner, demanding their share of the wealth. You can imagine the feelings of dissatisfaction that would promote. The Journal of Personality and Social Psychology showed a scientific explanation for why lottery winners are not as happy as one would think, given they won enough money to give them financial security for the rest of their lives. So they did a study and they compared 22 lottery winners with 22 regular people and with 29 people who were paralyzed, which, by the way, you would think they'd be the least happy group. One would think the lottery winners would have a greater sense of happiness compared to both groups. Yes? The study revealed the lottery winners reported feeling the same level of happiness as that reported by the paralyzed disabled people. So astonishingly, the lottery winners reported feeling the least happy. An expert concluded this is a result of hedonic adaptation. I'll let you look that up and figure out what that means. Okay, so that's body two. So I went that first. Okay, at the bottom of the outline, I'm going to go through the first article, and it's predatory gambling has helped the lottery reach sky-high jackpots, critics say. This is going to be our first argument. Unfortunately, it affects the lower income group the most because they have the least disposable income. You know, last week I talked about it's fine to play the lottery. It's like going to a movie or going to a concert or going out to eat, which maybe some of you did last week. And nobody faults you for that, right? If it's your extra money, you're spending money, and that's the way you choose to spend it, good for you. And and I'm going to put myself in middle class here, middle class and upper class, we look at playing the lottery as fun. We don't look at it as being an investment. And that's what lower income groups look at it as being. I also said last week, I added it to your outline, that low income groups play the lottery because they actually perceive themselves as being included with the wealthy when they're usually not. So remember that bandwagon effect. They play because they feel like they're part of this global community of all classes. It levels out the playing field. So this is the story of a Santo Domingo liquor store in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Now, it's a liquor store, everybody. If you know anything about prohibition, most people who walk into a liquor store like to drink alcohol. A lot of them like to excessively drink alcohol because it's addictive. Right? We also know that playing the lottery is addictive. So this is a story. Elizabeth Correa, 8 months pregnant, and her mother own a store. They have 2 cash registers. Get this. They're open 7 days a week. And guess which cash register line is the longest to sell alcohol or lottery tickets? Lottery tickets. Okay, there's something wrong with that. At least if you buy alcohol, you get something for your money, don't you? If you buy a lottery ticket, you're probably going to end up with nothing. Yet that line is the longest line. The other thing about this story that's fascinating is that store took in $1.2 million in lottery bets, right? So they're selling a lot of lottery tickets. They are the Lawrence's 5th largest lottery vendors. So what happens, and what's sad about this story, is in Lawrence, Massachusetts, it's a population of 77,000 people who are mostly poor. There are 78 lottery outlets. Okay, that's like Coppell is 44,000. Double Coppell with 78 places to buy lottery tickets. If you go to Coppell, you go to 7-Eleven, you go to a grocery store, you go to a gas station, I guarantee you there's a lottery outlet. You can play the lottery. Why? Guess you didn't know this, but that person who won the lottery in Florida, the store, the vendor, the outlet that sold them that ticket wins $1 million. If you sell the winning ticket, your store earns $1 million too. So there is incentive to sell tickets in your store. She says there's a guy, an older man who speaks Spanish, won't give his name. He plays 7 days a week. Remember, he's poor, 7 days a week. He says what most of the players will do is they'll buy tickets, go over, scratch off, if it's scratch off ticket, fill in the bubble. They come back over, turn their ticket in. If they win, what should they do? Leave. No, they take their winnings and they buy more lottery tickets. They rebet. That's not what you're supposed to do. When you win big in Vegas, everybody, at a casino, you leave. Because if you rebet, the odds are you're going to end up with nothing. So fascinating. The official payback on lottery tickets is not good. Why then are lower income people playing? Well, according to Cornell University economics and management professor David Just, what appears to be happening is they really believe there's going to be a return on their investment. And you and I know better. Maybe that's because we're more educated. Maybe we understand statistics and probability. Maybe we understand, well, I'm playing, the odds are pretty slim, I'm not going to win, but I have extra money for fun. They don't have extra money. This is them basically putting money, thinking it's an investment, hoping it will pay off. They don't understand how abysmal their chances are, he says, because they're less educated. It's the desperation play, he says. People don't treat it like entertainment, particularly those who are poor. They treat this as an investment opportunity. It's their Hail Mary pass to try to make it big. If you don't know what a Hail Mary pass is, a Hail Mary is a prayer. So at the end of a football game, a quarterback, because they're losing, will throw this 90-yard pass, the odds of it, landing in the receiver's hand. It's called a Hail Mary pass. And it's been known to win games, by the way, but the odds are pretty slim. It can happen, but the odds are pretty slim. So that's the reference there. It's astounding, he says, that those who are on welfare will use their welfare checks, which should be to buy basic necessities. Remember, they're below the poverty line. They're below $12,500 a year. And they get government subsidized checks and they don't spend them on food or clothes. They go and spend them on the lottery. It's really sad too that our government knows this and they're putting more lottery outlets into those cities with poor populations. And then they're timing ads. An Ohio marketing plan timed the lottery ad to coincide with when they got their government paychecks. So this is body paragraph 1, everybody. Playing the lottery disproportionately impacts lower income groups who often cannot afford to take the financial risks that do so anyway. Morgan Housel, financial writer, wrote Psychology of Money, explained, low-income lottery winners are blowing their safety nets on something with a 1 in a million chance of hitting it big. Why? According to this example I already went over, the Santo Domingo Liquors, they believe it will pay off. They buy into it. So what's the problem? Even if they bet and they win, they rebet. It's a losing proposition for a group of people who can't afford to lose. Number 2 is David Just. I went over all that. And then number 3, Jennifer Johnston. I'm going to finish with this and let you go. Associate professor of psychology at Western New Mexico University, explained, for them, a lottery ticket may seem like their best chance to solve all their money problems. People who live below the poverty line spend roughly 6% of their already small income. That's way more than middle and higher classes do. Yes, this is because they're associated with more higher impulsivity, more likely because their odds, they see their odds, this is convoluted thinking, of landing good paying jobs as equally impossible as winning the lottery, therefore equally possible. What all this amounts to is playing the lottery hurts lower income groups the most when they can afford it the least. So all in all, purchasing a lottery ticket for any reason other than entertainment is a waste of time and money, especially for low income groups who cannot afford to play it. So the lottery is designed as optional, as anyone can play, but there are certain groups, they say, where it can become more addictive and they don't know any better. So they play. So you and I could probably play the lottery and be fine with it because we know we're educated and we understand the limitations of it. We understand the probability of not winning. but a lower income population is the one fueling a lot of these lotteries, which is really, really sad. Okay, any questions? Got it? Okay, this is the last time I let other people from the summer into class. So the online this is it. So make sure you come to class from now on. Everybody else, you get your private class back. All right, thank you and have a great day. Good topic.